Cruisin Jules. A lot of people ask me, how do I feel when I cruise solo? Is it safe? And then some people say, ooh, I don't know if I could do that. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of insight from myself. I've cruised solo sometimes. I mean, I usually go with a friend or family member, but not always. One thing is if I do go on holiday solo, I think that cruising is a great way to do it. And I'll tell you why. I feel like it's a safe environment, especially as a single woman. You're with a couple thousand people, maybe 2,000 to 4,000 total with crew members, maybe a little bit more if you're on a larger ship. But you're going to be with like-minded people, and it's quite easy to meet people. You're all going to the same places. I feel quite safe when I go on a cruise ship, and as a single person, I feel it's probably one of the safer ways to travel solo because, first of all, there's a security team on the ship and there's cameras everywhere. If you're going to different countries, you'd have to have a passport, and I'm not sure, but I'm thinking if you're a criminal and you can't travel to other countries, you're probably not on a cruise ship. So that's already weeding out criminal. And so maybe there's going to be less crime. Okay, so why I feel safe on the ship is just because, first of all, there's a security team. A lot of people, like, they're going to know who every single person is coming and going off the ship. Everybody's kind of tracked, not necessarily your movements per se, but they do know when you get on the ship and when you get off the ship. And there's cameras everywhere. Pretty much also, if you're traveling by yourself, people tend to recognize you and know who you are. I find for the most part, people check in with you. Another great thing is if you want to do some kind of tour or shore excursion when you get into port, you could just book your shore excursion through the cruise line. And then you don't have to worry about going off somewhere on your own. If you're booked on a shore excursion with the cruise line, you're going with a group of people, they're all from your ship, and then you can stay together and you have that little sense of security there. Now, prepping yourself to go solo, I think everybody's comfort level will be different. If you've never done anything by yourself, it might be a big jump. So I just think of it this way. Are you comfortable going to the grocery store by yourself? Okay, well, perfect. A lot of people are. Some people don't even do that. Would you go to a restaurant by yourself? I'd say it's about half and half out there when I ask people. I'm okay to go to a restaurant by myself, but like locally, I'm not gonna go out on a Friday night or Saturday by myself in town. Like, no, I'm gonna go out with my friends or family. But I'm not afraid to go out for dinner by myself on a Friday or Saturday night if I'm out of town. Would you go out for dinner by yourself? That's a big one. I actually tell people if they're not sure if they'd be comfortable going on vacation by themselves, I just say, try something simple in town where you live. Go to a movie by yourself. And if you don't want to do it in your own town, just drive to the next town where nobody knows you and see how that goes. And if you're comfortable, you'd probably be okay. Another thing too is, how are you when you're alone? Like, are you the kind of person that gets lonely or not? And there's a difference between being alone and lonely. If you're not used to being by yourself and you get lonely, maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's a good experience. Big piece of advice, if you do go on a cruise by yourself, is pick a cruise line where people are from a similar culture as you and that you speak the same language. Because if you're speaking a different language, then you might have problems communicating with people. So for me, my big thing is if I'm around people that speak English, I'm fine. I did try a cruise line once in Europe, and it was an MSC cruise. I went solo, and most of the clientele was European. Well, pretty much everybody was European. I really don't know what the whole mix was, but I do know that there were only 9 of us on there at the English drill. So that made it very difficult for me to communicate with people because most of them were talking in a different language. In that case, I did feel lonely. Also, it was more difficult when I got to shore. I couldn't really make plans with people to do my own shore excursions. At the time, I didn't really have the budget to do a proper shore excursion with the cruise line because those tend to cost more. So kind of had to figure things out. But if you put me on North American brand like NCL, Holland America, Princess, Celebrity, I'd be fine by myself because the predominant language spoken is English, and I just tend to meet people. You can meet people at dinner time, so great. If you're not sure if you're going to be able to meet anybody on the ship, well, that's probably not a problem. I mean, you have to make a little bit of initiative yourself. Sometimes you start to see people around and recognize people, and you could just start shooting the breeze if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine. You don't need to talk to anybody if you don't want to. But I find I'm always meeting people, especially in the dining venues. So at the buffet at lunch, there's always people around. Usually the tables are pretty busy for lunch on sea days and when you first get there. So you're going to be sitting around people you don't know anyway. Why not say hello? And you never know. And the other thing is, for dinner in the main dining rooms, you can just ask to be seated at a big table if you want to meet a lot of people. I'm just going to give you an example. Princess Cruise Lines, I think that cruise line is very ideal for meeting people traveling solo, because when you get to the dining room, they'll ask you, do you want to sit alone or do you want to share a table? And I usually say, yeah, I'd like to share a table. I shouldn't say I usually do. I mean, on my last cruise, I didn't want to share a table. So you could share a table if you want with other people. And if you want to eat alone, you could do that too. On Norwegian Cruise Lines, they actually have their own little designated area for solo cruisers. They're solo cabins. With that being said, those cabins are quite small. I haven't actually stayed in one because I actually would prefer to have a larger cabin. But if you want to stay in that area, there are some small inside cabins. And then in that area, you have to have your own special swipe card. So only the people that are traveling solo in these cabins can have access to that area. And then they have their own little lounge and coffee shop area. Obviously, if you're in that area and you're traveling alone, other people are in the same situation. That's another way to meet people. And you may or you may not like the people you meet. So you gotta learn how to handle it your own way. If you're not sure if you're gonna like traveling solo, maybe just give it a try. If you were going to travel solo and you didn't know if you should go to a resort or a cruise, I would definitely pick the cruise. If you were ever thinking of cruising solo and you found this video helpful, please let me know. Give it a thumbs up or make a comment below. That would be great. Regardless, have a great day.